I Digress. And as digressions go, I had the opportunity in March of that same year to be cast in a short black and white film called The Last Cigarette. A director and crew from Columbia University's film school needed to have a completed project within a matter of days, and they asked me to participate. The director's cut which I received was pretty terrific, and the entire experience so efficiently and professionally produced that I was further inspired to reach out to Nick and his crew to try our hand with a truly ambitious prospect, filming the short play that I had decided to excise from my play of Lives and Leaves. So Nick and I continued to meet off and on through the early spring of 2019 to discuss our plans. From the get-go, the decision was to work with those same men who'd controlled things so beautifully as a crew for both of the short films we had produced that previous year. Another decision in my developing the screenplay was to emulate the television dramas of the 1950s, culling techniques used by such programs as Playhouse 90 and Studio One. Understanding that all of us were intelligent students of the craft, I wanted to see where the creative journey might take us from stage to page to screen. So my hope, my goal, was to create the kind of canvas where an audience could provide their own colors based on their own experiences related to the subject matter. Nick is so far ahead of my own understanding of what exists in the world of digital software. There are programs out there that boggle the mind with what they provide in lending themselves to visual narratives. And knowing my own propensity for process, this made me very aware of how much time we'd most likely need to spend in post-production editing the film to meet our standards in support of its fullest realization. Remaining plastic to any creative process, maintaining flexibility as it develops is very important to me. Keeping a project plastic and flexible provides you with opportunities that a too rigid agenda often thwarts. But to access this kind of software, funding would be necessary. I knew initially I'd have to reach inside of my own coffers to produce this. The whole idea of crowdfunding was a daunting one. Nick had a friend who did this kind of thing professionally, so we started to see what we could do about engaging him. What made this project special enough to attract attention, we wondered. The budget that we were currently looking at was very modest by most standards. As an out-of-pocket production, my courage stepped up to the bat with more seriousness of intention than I'd thought I had. I was willing to take the time necessary to see if Dollars and Cents, the title of our new short film, might indeed attract attention. And fortunately for us, it did. But I digress. A couple of years prior to my meeting Nick, I had seen actor Aaron Gaines in the Peccadillo Theater Company's production of The Show-Off. He had a relatively small but significant supporting role. I was so impressed that I sent a note backstage to him commending his work and suggesting that if he had any interest that I would love to invite him to a reading group that I occasionally organized to listen to my work. Happily, he agreed to a reading, rather problematic version of Timberlake that I was working on at the time, the one that prompted me towards the radical revision that took up so much of my time during 2017 and 2018. I started to think of the possibility of having him play the part of the son, Alex, in what was beginning to develop in my head as the screenplay to Dollars and Cents. Nick had other actors in mind, but I remained steadfast in my recommendation of Aaron. So Nick, sight unseen, agreed to bring Aaron into the project. With me playing the father and Aaron's agreeing to come on board, we had our cast and crew ready for a yet-to-be-disclosed shooting date. Scheduling our production dates as quickly as possible was vital as we had a limited amount of time to accomplish what we were setting out to do. As this was a novice enterprise for me, I sought out the counsel of my friend Janine, who ultimately agreed to become our production advisor. As an actress, she'd produced 2 short films, one of which had recently won a festival award. With her advice, I took it upon myself to plunge into seeing Dollars and Cents produced as a SAG-approved short film, following the union standards. This would mean a paid daily rate for both Aaron and myself as actors. But it made sense to me that our crew was also paid. Under the SAG production agreement, no one necessarily needs to be paid prior to the film's distribution. Deferred payments are common. The crew's being validated up front was important. From the get-go, these young men stood fully committed to the project. I could only hope that the work itself would reflect the energy these men displayed in bringing it to light. But I digress. That's not a digression. but an acknowledgement of the natural progression based on our team's engagement and collaboration. Again, engagement and collaboration. So we continued to move forward.